Willie, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Uh, well, let's see here. So my name is Willie Shain-Ross. I am an Artidzo intern and student at Regent College. I came up here from the States, from California, where I was kind of working in a couple different professions. I was working in nonprofits, higher education, but came up here to go to Regent College.
How did you become a Christian, Willie?
I became a Christian at 18, and what happened was I started going to this youth group some of my friends were attending. And while I was there, I got to know the youth pastor and developed several good Christian friendships and just learned a lot about what it means just to be a Christian and what it means to have faith, hope, and love in Christ. And so through that, ended up just accepting Jesus Christ.
What brought you to Vancouver?
So I originally came to Vancouver to study at Regent College. And Regent College was a unique, well, it's a theological grad school, I guess, but it was a unique school in the sense that it attracted a lot of people who weren't going on to become pastors. And these were people who I knew I'd be kind of shepherding in my congregation and who had questions that I wouldn't necessarily see. And so I wanted to come and learn from this community. And so that's how I ended up coming to Vancouver. And then ended up meeting my wife here. So I'm here for the long term, most likely.
How is Artidzo helping you grow in ministry?
Artidzo's been just a great place to train and to work with other interns as well as pastors. And probably the best thing that's come out of Artidzo has been the relentless feedback we get for our preaching. And so it's really been a great place to grow as a minister and to really think thoroughly about what it means to be a shepherd of a flock, what it means to be a pastor, and what it means to really preach the word.
How has COVID-19 impacted ministry for the interns?
Well, like a lot of places, I think, ministry in general, it's really impacted us quite a bit. A lot of the ministry areas we were doing were in person, and so we can no longer meet with the congregations. That's impacted a lot of our ministry areas. And now we're finding, since we're not doing those things, we have to think of creative ways to engage with the church. Been opportunities through Compline and morning prayer, but also trying to figure out ways that we can disciple people creatively, the ways we can kind of reach out and stay connected with our home groups and with people we're ministering to. But it's forced us to think creatively and thoughtfully about how we engage and disciple people.
What does it look like for you to have hope in following Jesus?
Colossians actually talks about at the beginning, Paul mentions that he looks at the trio of faith, hope, and love, and he says faith and love spring from the hope that is stored up for us in heaven and about which we heard in the true message of the gospel. And so I think the thing about hope is it's a hope for that one day we will commune with Christ and that we will be in relationship with the ultimate source of love and justice and beauty. And I think that informs how we live out our lives here, and it informs how we have faith and trust in Jesus, even when we can't see what he's doing.
What does maturity in faith look like?
Yeah, maturity in faith is growing into Christ-likeness. It's learning how to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord. It's learning how to please him in every way. So maturity is kind of growing in the knowledge and studying the word, as well as living a life that's sacrificial and living a life that's really geared towards putting other people first. And so I think it's a lot of those two things of growing in knowledge and loving neighbor.
How has your own suffering deepened your relationship with Christ?
Suffering is a very hard thing to endure. And suffering, especially, whether it's grief, loss, or even a pandemic, we worship a God who has experienced suffering and grief and loss and who does not waste pain. And so for suffering for me has really been learning about what are the promises of Jesus. He doesn't promise that we won't suffer, but he promises that we won't suffer alone. And so I think the thing with suffering is it forces us to ask what ultimately satisfies us. And so many things in the world are trying to grab our attention, but at the end of the day, it's only Christ that can really meet us in that suffering.